All right, so get this, everyone. Today we are diving deep into something, well, let's face it, it's something we all think about but don't always have figured out: money.
It's one of those things, right?
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're using this article as our guide: 15 biggest financial mistakes that keep people broke.
Oh, yeah, I read that one.
But don't worry, this isn't going to be one of those boring budgeting lectures.
No, no, not at all.
Promise. What I found really cool about this article is that it goes way beyond just like the nuts and bolts of budgeting. It actually gets into like the psychology of wealth.
It's really fascinating, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks at those habits and those mindsets that make the difference between, those who always seem to be struggling financially
Yeah.
and those who just seem to thrive.
It's like we're given the cheat codes to escape from a financial escape room.
I like that analogy.
So first up on the list of cheat codes is your credit score. And the article makes this point that a bad credit score is more than just like, oh, you can't get a loan. It's like this hidden cost that gets added to absolutely everything.
And it can really add up. Think about it. You end up paying more for your car, more for your house. Even everyday purchases can cost more, simply because of a low credit score.
Wow.
It can easily cost you thousands, tens of thousands, even more over your lifetime. But the good news is, fixing your credit score is actually pretty straightforward.
Okay, so what are a couple of those straightforward things you can start doing today?
Well, a lot of it is common sense, right?
Yeah.
Paying your bills on time,
Yeah.
not maxing out those credit cards.
Right.
Simple stuff like that, but it can make a huge difference in the long run.
So point one, treat your credit score like the VIP pass it is. But what about this idea that more money solves everything? I mean, we've all heard that.
We have.
This article kind of throws shade at that idea, though, pointing out that even lottery winners end up going broke. Why doesn't just having more cash automatically equal financial happiness?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine you have this really fancy sports car, but it has a leaky gas tank. You can keep filling it up, but until you patch that leak, you're not going to get very far.
I see what you mean.
It's the same with money. It's your financial habits that determine your success, not just the size of your paycheck.
So true. It's like pouring water into a leaky bucket.
Exactly.
Okay, so point two, fix those leaks, aka your financial habits. Now, speaking of habits, this next point is about the whole fake it till you make it game. We've all felt that pressure to look successful, maybe even more successful than we actually are.
Oh, absolutely.
But is trying to look rich actually holding us back from actually building wealth?
The article makes a really interesting point about this, using Warren Buffett as an example.
Mm.
Here's a guy who's worth billions, right?
Yeah, billions.
Yet he still lives in the same house he bought back in 1958,
Oh, wow, really?
drives a pretty modest car,
Interesting.
and enjoys simple pleasures, like McDonald's breakfast, for example.
Huh, who knew?
His focus is on building wealth,
Yeah.
not on showing it off. And that's a really important distinction. It really makes you question what your own spending habits are actually achieving for you.
That's deep. It really does make you think, doesn't it? Okay, moving on to the next point. This one's about understanding money itself, like the actual language of finance.
Yes.
I'll admit I used to get totally lost in all the jargon, but the article argues that decoding that language is essential for achieving financial success.
It's true. It's kind of like if you don't understand the terms of a contract, are you really in control?
Ah, good point.
Same with money. Debt, investments, taxes, these aren't just words.
Yeah,
These are the forces that shape your financial reality.
so true. Okay, so basically, it's time to level up our financial vocabulary. Now, this next point is something that I think a lot of people can relate to, which is relying on a single source of income. The article calls it the all your eggs in one basket problem. Like, if something happens to your job, what's your backup plan?
Right. And it's not just about making more money.
Yeah.
It's also about creating more financial resilience. Imagine having multiple streams of income flowing in. Suddenly, a job loss becomes a lot less scary.
It does, yeah.
Side hustles, investments, renting out a spare room. The options are endless these days.
It's like weaving a safety net made of income streams.
I like that. A financial safety net. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so point number 5, diversify your income streams. Now let's talk about that feeling when you finally get that raise.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good feeling, but the article has a warning about something called lifestyle inflation, where every time you get a raise, you just end up spending more.
Right. Bigger apartment, fancier dinners out.
Like the treat yourself mentality gone wild.
Yeah, exactly. And it's definitely tempting to upgrade your lifestyle every time you get a little more money. But what people often forget is that that money could be working harder for them.
In what way?
Well, even redirecting a small portion of every raise towards investments or savings can make a huge difference over time. Think of it as paying your future self.
So how can people resist those urges to just splurge every time they get a raise and stay focused on those long-term financial goals?
You know, one thing I've found helpful is having a really clear vision of what you're working
Oh,
towards.
I like that.
Like picturing yourself crossing the finish line of a financial marathon,
Okay.
and maybe even building in some small rewards along the way just to keep things sustainable.
Yeah, I love that idea, a balance of discipline and celebration.
Exactly.
Speaking of balance, the next point we need to talk about is something that often gets overlooked: the connection between your health and your wealth.
Right.
The article highlights how unexpected medical bills can really derail even the most carefully crafted budget.
Yeah, it's true. It's like that saying, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
But it's not just about avoiding medical debt, is it?
Yep.
It seems like there's a deeper connection between feeling physically good and making sound financial decisions too. Absolutely. When you're feeling healthy and you have that energy, you're naturally more productive at work, you're more likely to take on new challenges, and you just make clearer decisions overall.
It makes sense.
So really, investing in your well-being is an investment in your financial future too.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about health. Now let's talk about luck, or rather, the myth of luck.
Okay.
This article is pretty firm about debunking that whole waiting for my big break mentality.
Right.
And it argues that lasting wealth is actually built through consistent effort, not some magical windfall.
It's easy to get caught up in those stories of overnight success, but the reality is that most people who are financially successful have actually faced a ton of setbacks and failures along the way.
That's a good point.
They achieve their goals through persistence, through calculated risks, and most importantly, through a willingness to learn from their mistakes.
So basically, ditch the lottery mindset and embrace the power of consistent action. Okay, I'm loving this. Now that brings us to another crucial point: taking control instead of making excuses.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
The article draws a really sharp contrast between people who get stuck in this victim mentality
Yeah.
and those who choose to see challenges as opportunities.
It's about recognizing that you do have agency in your financial journey.
Mm.
Sure, the economy might be unpredictable,
No.
unexpected things might happen,
Yeah.
but ultimately you always have the power to adapt, to learn, and to make choices that move you forward.
So it's about owning our choices and becoming the architects of our financial destinies.
Exactly.
Okay, so point 9, take control. Now, this next one is something I think we've all experienced at some point, which is taking financial advice from the wrong people.
Oh, yes.
You know, those well-meaning friends who are maybe still figuring things out themselves?
Right.
It's totally natural to want to seek guidance from people you're close to, but when it comes to finances, it's so crucial to find mentors who have actually achieved the level of success you're aiming for.
Yeah, it's like anything else in life, you want to learn from the best.
Yeah, exactly.
They can offer insights and strategies based on real experience, not just good intentions.
It's like having a seasoned guide to help you navigate the financial jungle.
Love that analogy.
And speaking of essential guidance, the article really stresses the importance of building an emergency fund.
Oh, that's a must-have.
It's like the financial equivalent of a spare tire. You might not need it every day, but when you do need it, you're really, really grateful to have it.
It's true. And it's not about having like tens of thousands of dollars stashed away. Even a small amount can give you that buffer you need when unexpected expenses pop up.
Peace of mind, financial security, it's like an insurance policy for your overall well-being.
Exactly.
So, point 10, build that emergency fund. All right, we're almost to the end of this list, but these last few points are just as important as the first ones. So number 12 is about quitting too soon. I think we've all been there. We start a new budget or we start a side hustle with tons of energy and excitement, but then things get tough.
It happens.
And it's tempting to just give up.
It is, but the thing is, building wealth takes time. It takes consistency. It takes resilience.
You've got that right.
There will inevitably be bumps in the road,
Yeah.
but it's about learning from those challenges and continuing to push forward.
So it's about embracing that long game,
Exactly.
remembering that persistence is key. Okay, now this next point might be a bit of a wake-up call, but it's something we all need to think about: how we spend our time.
Ah, yes, time. our most precious resource.
It's easy to forget that time is a resource, isn't it?
It is.
Especially when we're busy and overwhelmed.
We tend to think of money as our primary resource,
Hmm?
but time is equally finite and in many ways even more valuable. How you spend your time directly impacts your financial outcomes.
That's so true. So the question is, are you using your free time to pursue a side hustle, learn a new skill, or just relax and recharge? Or are you letting it slip away with things like endless scrolling and mindless entertainment?
It's about being mindful. Even small changes in how you manage your time can have a ripple effect on your finances.
Like what kind of small changes?
Well, imagine setting aside just 30 minutes each day to work on a side hustle
Okay.
or to take an online course.
Yeah.
Those minutes add up over time, just like interest on an investment.
It's so true. It's not just about finding extra hours in the day, but about maximizing the hours that we already have.
That's a great way to think about it.
All right, on to the second to last point. This one can be pretty intimidating. Understanding how banks and credit actually work.
Yeah, I remember feeling totally lost when I first started trying to figure all that out.
It can feel like you need a PhD in finance just to understand your own bank statement sometimes.
It really can. But demystifying those systems is essential for taking control of your finances.
So how do we start doing that?
Start with the basics. Understanding interest rates, your credit score, the different types of accounts available to you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Once you understand those things, you can start making more informed decisions that actually benefit your long-term financial well-being.
So it's like learning to speak the language of money so we can actually understand the fine print.
Right, exactly.
And speaking of understanding the fine print, the final point in the article addresses this big fear that holds a lot of people back, and that's investing.
Investing, yeah.
A lot of people, myself included sometimes, see investing as this risky gamble, like something only Wall Street experts should do. But the article makes a really good point, which is that just keeping your money in a savings account, especially with these low interest rates we have now, is almost a guaranteed way to lose money over time because of inflation.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're choosing to lose money slowly instead of taking some calculated risks to actually grow your wealth.
I never thought of it that way. That's a really good point. But the thing is, the world of investing can feel really overwhelming. Like, where do you even begin?
Well, the article actually has some really good advice on that. And it starts with defining your goals. What are you actually saving for? Is it retirement?
Okay.
A down payment on a house?
Uh-huh.
Maybe you want to start your own business.
Yeah.
Each of those goals has a different timeline and a different level of risk that you might be comfortable with.
So it's not just blindly throwing money at the stock market.
No, not at all.
It's about being strategic and aligning your investments with your specific goals.
Exactly.
But what about people like me who get nervous even just hearing the word risk?
I understand. That's where it's really important to understand the different types of investments and how much risk each one carries. Like index funds, for example. Those are generally considered relatively low risk,
Okay.
and they give you a nice diversified exposure to the stock market.
Uh-huh.
Real estate, on the other hand, that can be a bit more hands-on,
Yeah.
but it also has the potential for higher returns.
So it's like choosing the right tool for the job.
I like that, yeah,
A hammer's great for nails, but not so much for screws, right?
exactly. And speaking of choosing the right tools, the article brings up the importance of mentors again. It really stresses that surrounding yourself with the right people can make all the difference.
It's like having a personal trainer, but for your finances.
Yeah, someone who's already walked the path you want to walk and can guide you, encourage you, maybe even hold you accountable.
So how do you actually find these financial gurus? Do you just walk up to Warren Buffett and ask for his number?
Probably not Buffett directly, but there are so many other ways to connect with people who have that experience you're looking for.
Okay, like what?
Well, you could look for local financial advisors, attend workshops or seminars,
Okay.
even join online communities that are focused on investing or entrepreneurship.
I bet books and podcasts can be really valuable mentors too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like getting advice from people who have already achieved that financial success you're aiming for.
It's like having a whole library of financial wisdom at your fingertips.
Speaking of valuable resources, the article really emphasizes the importance of that emergency fund again.
It can't be overstated. It really is essential.
It's like that safety net that gives you the confidence to take those calculated risks we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Because you know that even if something unexpected happens, you have that cushion to fall back on.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be this huge amount of money. Like we said before, even a small amount can provide that buffer you need.
Absolutely. It's about starting where you are and building it up consistently over time.
Which reminds me of another point we talked about earlier, the whole idea of time as a valuable currency.
Yes, our most valuable asset.
We tend to think of money as our primary resource, but time is just as important, and it's something we can never get back.
So true. And how you spend your time really does have a direct impact on your financial outcomes.
So how do we start being more mindful of that?
Well, ask yourself, are you using your free time to do things that are actually moving you closer to your financial goals? Or are you letting it slip away on things that don't really matter in the long run?
It's easy to fall into that trap, isn't it?
It is, but even small shifts in how you allocate your time can make a big difference. Imagine taking those 30 minutes you might spend scrolling social media
Okay.
and using them to work on a side hustle instead,
Yeah.
or to learn a new skill that could increase your earning potential.
That's a good point. It's about being intentional with our time, just like we're being intentional with our money.
Exactly.
Now, let's go back to the idea of diversifying income.
Yeah.
This can feel really daunting for people who are already juggling a full-time job and other responsibilities.
I know what you mean, but the good news is that the gig economy has made it easier than ever to create multiple streams of income, even outside of traditional employment.
Yeah, it seems like everyone has a side hustle these days.
And there's a reason for that. There's so many possibilities, from freelancing your skills
Yeah.
to selling handmade goods online
Yeah.
to teaching virtual classes.
Mm.
There's something for everyone.
I've seen friends make extra money through online courses, ebooks, even renting out their parking spaces. It's amazing what people are doing.
It really is. It's about being creative and leveraging your existing assets.
And it doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing either. Like even a side hustle that brings in an extra $100 a month can make a difference.
Absolutely. Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
It can go towards paying down debt, building your savings, even funding those investments we were talking about earlier.
It's like planting a seed that can grow into a mighty financial tree over time.
I like that analogy. Small beginnings, big potential.
Okay, now let's talk about something that can be a little bit emotionally charged, which is that tendency to blame external factors for our financial struggles.
Oh yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap.
Like, I wouldn't be in debt if I had a higher paying job.
Right.
Or my parents didn't teach me about money.
Yeah,
While those things might be true, the article really encourages us to shift our perspective a bit.
and to focus on what we can control.
It's about recognizing that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond to those things.
Exactly. So instead of getting stuck in that blame game, ask yourself, what actions can I take to improve my situation regardless of what's happening around me?
So it's about taking responsibility for our own financial well-being,
Exactly.
empowering ourselves to be the drivers, not the passengers, in our financial journeys.
I love that. Being the driver, taking control.
And speaking of taking control, let's go back to that point about trying to look rich too soon.
Ah, yes. The keeping up with the Joneses phenomenon.
It's so easy, especially in today's social media world, to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others
It's everywhere you look.
and feel that pressure to keep up appearances, even if it means spending money we don't have.
Right. And the article makes a really strong point about how that desire for validation can actually sabotage our long-term financial goals.
It's like spending money you don't have to impress people you don't even like.
It's so true. So how do you resist that urge to keep up with the Joneses, especially when you're constantly bombarded with images of wealth and success online?
It's tough, for sure.
It is, but it's about consciously choosing to define success on your own terms. What truly matters to you?
That's a great question.
Is it financial freedom? Experiences?
Mm.
Giving back to your community?
Yeah.
It's about creating a vision of success that aligns with your values, not someone else's.
And recognizing that true wealth is about so much more than just money.
Absolutely.
It's about having that peace of mind, being able to pursue your passions, and living a life that feels authentically you.
Well said.
Now, let's bring it full circle and go back to that very first point we discussed, the power of your credit score.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
It's easy to dismiss it as just a number,
Right.
but it really can have a ripple effect on almost every aspect of your financial life.
It's true. It's kind of like your financial report card.
I like that. A good score opens doors to better interest rates on loans, more favorable terms on credit cards, even more options when it comes to renting an apartment.
And while building a good credit score does take time and effort, it's one of the most important things you can do to set yourself up for success.
So it's worth treating your credit score like the VIP pass it is.
Absolutely.
Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's revisit that core message of the article, which is that financial success isn't about luck or some magical formula. It's about intentionality, consistency, and adopting that proactive mindset.
It's about taking control of your finances instead of letting your finances control you.
And remembering that financial well-being is a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps along the way, but it's about learning from those experiences and always striving to improve.
So as we conclude this exploration of financial empowerment, I want to leave you with this question. What's one small action you can take today to break free from these common financial mistakes and start building the financial future you deserve? Remember, even small steps, consistently applied, can lead to remarkable results over time.
That's a powerful question to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into financial empowerment. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and feel inspired to take control of your financial destiny. Until next time.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
All these financial mistakes that can really trip people up.
Yeah.
But, more importantly, we've talked about how to turn those mistakes around.
Yeah, how to use them to actually grow.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the key.
Now, before we wrap things up completely, I want to kind of distill some of the key takeaways here.
Okay, yeah.
Things that our listeners can start using in their lives right away.
Yeah.
So what would you say, what's the biggest, the most important message from this whole deep dive?
For me, it's that idea of shifting from reacting to money to being proactive about it.
Okay, I like that.
Instead of always feeling like we're putting out financial fires,
Uh-huh.
we can actually create a sense of control, and start building a solid foundation for the future. It's like moving from money is happening to me to I'm in charge of my money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that shift in mindset, it's huge. It opens up so many possibilities.
It's like we've unlocked a new level in that financial escape room.
I like that, yeah. We've
Yeah.
leveled up. And the thing is, even small changes can make a really big difference over time. It's not about making these drastic overnight transformations.
Right.
It's about consistently making choices that are aligned with your goals.
So for someone who might be feeling overwhelmed by all this information, where's a good place to start?
I'd say just pick one or two areas that really resonate with you
Okay.
and just focus on making small, sustainable changes. Maybe that's setting up a budget tracker.
Yeah.
Maybe it's exploring a side hustle or committing to learning more about investing.
Just take that first step.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take that first step and then just keep going. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are so many resources out there.
That's a good point.
Find some mentors, join some communities.
Yeah.
There's a ton of support available for anyone who's ready to take control of their finances.
This deep dive has really shown that financial success, it's not about luck. It's not about winning the lottery.
No.
It's about making those smart choices,
Yes.
building those positive habits, and having that growth mindset.
It's about recognizing that you have the power to shape your own financial future one decision at a time.
And remembering that it's a journey, not a destination.
That's right.
There will be ups and downs along the way,
Yeah.
but it's about learning from those experiences and just keep striving to improve.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation.
It has.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into financial empowerment. We hope you've learned some valuable things today, and most importantly, that you feel inspired to take control of your financial future. Until next time.